8 Milwaukee area communities and organizations are finding ways to make the places where we live, work, and play better for everyone. That's all thanks to a series of community challenge grants from AARP Wisconsin and its Livable Communities Project, which looks at ways communities can work better for people of all ages. Let's learn more from Amber Miller, Senior Associate State Director of Outreach for AARP. We'll talk about the grants in just a minute, but first, can you tell us what the process or what the concept is behind Livable Communities?
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Denise, for having me. AARP Livable Community Initiative actually started about 10 years ago in partnership with the World Health Organization. And it was really looking at how can communities adapt to people aging in their communities. So whether you're 8 years old or 80 years old or older, is it safe to cross the street? Is there affordable housing? Is there green space? Is there connection opportunities? So it looks at more of the community in a holistic way instead of, we need to change everything at one time. It's like, how can we do it step by step? So AARP has been at the helms of that for the last 10 years and very excited. We have 14 age-friendly communities so far in the state of Wisconsin.
How does making a community age-friendly really work for everybody?
Yeah, when you think about it, we're aging every day. I can tell you I'm aging every day. So when we look at, our communities of, can I age in my house? Is it safe? Can I take my niece and nephew down the street and cross it safely? And I know, people look at their neighborhoods through a different lens of, they've been there for many years and they don't want to leave. AARP did a survey a few years back where 76% of people still want to stay in their community. So that means, us as community members, elected officials really need to start looking at how can we ensure that people can stay in their neighborhood as long as they can. And it really is, all hands on deck. So it's not just the community itself, but it's, it's the developers of the houses. It's building new streets and ensuring that people can cross it safely.
There are 8 Milwaukee area organizations that received about $125,000 in supportive grants. What was it that helped to make these particular applications as a whole really stand out?
Yeah, no, we're super excited anytime we can bring funds back to the state of Wisconsin, especially Southeast Wisconsin. This year is the 10-year anniversary of the AARP Livable Community Initiative. So they, dispersed about $8 million nationwide. And as you said, about $125,000 is coming to some projects here in the Milwaukee, Racine, Southeast area. They stuck out because they really have the essence of livable communities, looking at it through how can we make our community better? So, not only was the applications very strong, but also how can they incorporate the 50 plus voice? And so their applications, we had almost 200 applications come in and the winners just were strong and we're excited. We actually just did check presentations last week. So we're excited. We'll have some photos of that also on our Facebook page and our website.
One of the things that struck me, and we'll talk a little bit now about some of the different projects, but there were a couple that addressed the issue of pedestrian safety. Why is that particularly important when you're talking about building a livable community?
Pedestrian safety to me, no matter where you live in the state or in the nation, is a concern for a lot of people. People want to safely walk on the sidewalks. They want to safely cross the streets. I think we've all seen, cars speeding down the street, 30, 40 miles over the speed limit. And, eventually, whether it's our choice or, our doctor's choice, we might not be able to drive. So, what can we do to ensure that we still have choices for transportation, public transportation, of course, but walkability. We want to ensure that people can walk their community safely. So that's why it's important. And we're excited that some of the projects are focusing on that.
There are also some that address quality of life issues, including a community garden, a couple that really hone in on the importance of aging adults being able to access information and gain computer skills.
Yeah, so the community garden was awarded to Midtown Neighborhood Alliance. They are in a community that is considered a food desert. The main grocery store closed last year. A chain pharmacy closed just within the last week or two where people could get food. So not only is the community garden a way for people to get fresh food, but it's such a great way for people to connect within the community. Social isolation is real. And this is just another way to combat it. And what's great too about community gardens, it's for people of all ages. So seeing somebody bring a child to the garden, and now everybody's learning where their food comes from. So we're super excited about that project. There's also two projects that are going to be focusing on computer skills for the 50 plus population. One is the Sherman Park Community Association, and then the other is the Racine Kenosha Community Action Agency. So both of them are going to be focusing on that technology skills. Technology changes every day. I'm learning something new every day. So getting people who are like, I want to learn some basic computer skills to, hey, I want to learn how to use platforms to create marketing flyers. It's so needed in our community. The technology divide is real. So we appreciate those two organizations applying, and now two of our grantees for this year.
The grants were made to organizations all around southeastern Wisconsin in our community. What does that tell us about the work that all communities still have to do around making sure that people are able to live and age well in them?
Yeah, that's a great question. No community is perfect. From, just my local community to the city I live in, you drive around, you walk around, you're talking to people, and you hear, that people want to change things and do things within their community. And what's great then is taking that conversation and actually like doing something with it. And I think that's what these organizations did a really good job of we identify a problem, we're listening to the community, how can we make it better? And some of that you could do for free or low cost. And sometimes you need, substantial amount of money and looking for funding for that. So I think communities can, connect with each other. And if you see something that could be better or could be fixed, whether it's pedestrian safety, community gardens, walkability, affordable housing, it really takes a village to ensure that our communities are the safest and best place to age.
Amber, these are really exciting opportunities for communities. And as you said, we are all aging every day. So these are programs and grants that are going to really work for all of us. Thank you so much for being here with us. We are right back with more right after this break.